Health and medical information from the Billy Meier contacts compiled by David Chance, revised the 25th of October 2023.
Genes. See also genetic engineering. Contact Report 8.
My next question is about the gene, which makes up the hereditary factor. Are you allowed to tell me something about it?
It is the carrier of hereditary properties in the color bodies.
That is clear to me, but how does a gene originate? And are the chromosomes equal in all life forms?
They are not, as far as the second question is concerned. Depending on the kind of being, they are different, and they also vary in their number. Human life forms, however, normally have the same number of chromosome pairs.
Do these color bodies then have any influence on the age limit of the life form? Or is the age a genetically determined factor?
Certainly, it is a result of the genes. The genes control the cell functions via the brain and the spirit, and they direct life, regeneration, and decay of the cells.
Thanks. That's sufficient already. What functions do the chromosomes themselves have?
They determine type, form, and gender of the life form. They are also the fundamental carriers of the genes, which exert their factorial influences on the chromosomes and, depending on the factor present, cause them to switch to normal or false circuits and can also cause mutations.
Does Mongolism also fall under such a mutation?
In this context, only partially, because this is fundamentally based on a damage of germs due to numerous possibilities, which in many cases is able to generate a supernumerary chromosome.
Unfortunately, I do not understand enough of this, but the answer is sufficient for me. However, what do these chromosomes consist of?
Mainly of proteins and nucleic acids.
Good, but now, what about heredity?
Each gene results in the inheritance of once existing characteristics. Each individual attribute contains the attributes of both determinative factors, namely the negative and the positive, the male and the female. However, due to various possible influences, faulty circuits or faulty breeds can result, from which mutated life forms can develop. It can also happen that a dominant gene overshadows a recessive gene, whereby this gene cannot reach the development. Nevertheless, both genes can then be passed on. Of course, genes are also able to change in the course of time because, like everything else in the universe, they too are subject to an evolutionary or degenerative process.
I understand, even if this is not exactly a distinct field of knowledge of mine. But what about the inheritance of knowledge, or simply the intelligence?
This is in no way related to the genes, because intelligence is the result of the evolution of the consciousness. However, spiritual and consciousness-based thinking and its resulting factors such as knowledge, essence of wisdom, and intelligence are pure factors of the consciousness, which can therefore express themselves consciousness-based and organically in the brain, which consists of acid substances. These acids form the carriers of consciousness-based essence of wisdom and intelligence in a solid form, while the spirit, however, fundamentally contains within itself the same knowledge as a fine fluidal factor. Even as a coarse, substantial life form, everything is determined by two factors, so therefore the purely spiritual or fine fluidal life form, as well as the coarse, substantial form, must be present. In this case, this means, therefore, that essence of wisdom and intelligence are present as spiritual energetical, as well as material consciousness-based coarse substantial forms, as organic acids. This enables that essence of wisdom and intelligence can be further transplanted in a coarse substantial manner. This means that, for example, these acids can be taken from one brain and be genetically modified in order to replant them into another brain. As a result, entire races of life forms can be brought to an equal level of essence of wisdom, knowledge, and intelligence without each individual having to go through the different evolutionary periods. In this way, even a new spirit form, which the human being of Earth often mistakenly refers to as mentally ill and idiotic, can be turned into a highly developed knowledge and life form. Intelligence and essence of wisdom are thus in no way the result of genes, and they are also not transmitted and brought along by the spirit itself, which inhabits the body. This means, therefore, that an intellectual or very wise human being can bring offspring, which the Earth human describes as mentally ill and idiotic, whereas, however, human beings who are weak in consciousness and intelligence can procreate offspring of horrendous development of consciousness and intelligence. This is really only connected with the extent to which the respective material consciousness residing in a body is itself developed in terms of knowledge. If, however, essence of wisdom and intelligence were the result of genes, then a new spirit would never find a home body, while the already existing life form would very quickly be destroyed and extinct because it would be spiritualized too quickly. This would be the case because only more and more highly developed life would be procreated, and thus no opportunities for new spirits to live and develop would be offered any longer.
But why, then, are the so-called spirit illnesses inheritable?
There are no real spirit illnesses, but only material illnesses of consciousness, and these are based on a delusion, brought about with Gewaltsamkeit, of a consciousness that is either still underdeveloped in terms of knowledge or is already educated. And since the genes are influenced by the consciousness, they catch the confused impulses, store them, and create the confused idea to become the confused life form. Life forms disturbed in such a way, however, normalize again from generation to generation, through the unstoppable further development of the spirit and through the regeneration of the consciousness, through the evolution which is caused periodically. This means thus that by the confused material consciousness, which uses the power of the spirit, vital functions of the genes are impaired, namely by the faulty control of certain factors. This faulty control then in turn sets off its impulses in order to intersperse the brain acids with the same false factors and to cause a confusion, a delusion that as a result actually becomes organic. The evolution of the consciousness, however, ensures that the delusion can normalize again over generations, as I have already mentioned. Life forms disturbed in such a way may be burdened differently depending on their kind, but likewise their offspring. Depending on the stage of development of the body-inhabiting spirit of the offspring, these can become more or less disturbed in their consciousness. A very low-developed consciousness quite decidedly more than a highly developed one, whereby it is even feasible that through the power of the spirit such faulty controls are able to neutralize themselves. So it is absolutely possible that a life form ill in consciousness produces offspring that are in no way abnormal, as you say. But on the other hand, after many generations, after everything has normalized again, small, underdeveloped factor elements may, in isolated cases, allow certain damages to break out, which lead back to them.
But now, once again, a question regarding the age. You said that the age would be conditioned genetically. Does that apply 100%?
Not to that extent, no, because various other factors still play an important role. The most important points with this are the external influences, such as living conditions, health, nutrition, and environment, and so on,